Welcome back to the Meeple Marathon. Today we're going to talk about how to play Deep Regrets. Very interesting artwork in this game, but we're going to learn how to play Deep Regrets solo. Now, if you're not familiar with the game, you're going to understand through my description of how to play here, pretty much how to play the multiplayer game. There is, some major differences, but the core mechanics are all the same. So in the main game of Deep Regrets, you are competing with other fishermen, and you can either fish as a regular human or as a some type of creature here. It's either Hugo or Hogu, who's like a one-eyed person there. There's no asymmetrical power, so it doesn't matter which side you flip it on, but you are basically going around and you are fishing in various depths for various sizes of fish. You can take those fish back to port, mount them on your wall for kind of trophy bonuses. You can just save them for endgame scoring, or you can even eat them to gain instant bonuses, but then you lose them. You'll never get to mount anything on your wall that you've eaten. Also, anytime throughout the game that you do something that's, say, negative in nature or unsightly or something like that, you're going to gain regret cards. In the main game, regret cards, whoever has the highest amount of regret, these cards are simply just have some numbers on them, 1 through 4, I think it is. Whoever has the highest amount of regret actually has to remove a trophy from their wall. So it's, negative points at the end of the game. Other than that, you're just kind of spending rounds where you're fishing out here in the depths, or you can spend a round purchasing upgraded rods, reels, and supplies in town. Also, your bobber dice. So the main mechanic of the game is surrounded by these dice. Now, every player gets to start with 3 dice that are their color, and they stay with them throughout the entire game. You can also, however, purchase dice in the main game when you go to port that are going to be give you even better chances. So the blue dice it's an additional die that you can spend, but they've got a couple zeros on there. They're not that great. And I think it's the green one next, and then the orangish ones are the best. So there are ways to kind of mitigate your success in dice rolling and how well you can do in fishing. Fishing is very simple. The beginning of every round, you're going to take any dice that you have, you're going to roll them out, and you're going to set them into this fresh area. In the main game, the number of dice you can have in your fresh area is determined upon your madness level. In solo, you don't have to worry about your madness level, so we're just going to skip that. It's very easy to comprehend if you're wanting to play the multiplayer game. But then you're simply going to, I'm not going to start flipping these cards over. You're always going to have a few cards that don't go into the mix when you set up the game, so I'm just going to use these as examples. Here, for example, is a foot. It's a small fish. It's also a foul fish. You can see this is actually kind of a gross card here. It's actually going to cost you 0 to catch, but it's also worth 0. Now, in the multiplayer game, your madness level also manipulates how much, say, a foul fish is worth. So if you're crazy, you could make this number go up. But there's some other symbols here that we need to pay attention to. The eyeball symbol means that when this card is revealed, all players in this case would gain a regret card. So they would just draw the top card there. And then the teeth symbol is if you eat this, you would get to re-roll the die and you would gain a regret. All right, so there's just an example. Let's look at another one here. Here is a middling and fair fish. So this is a normal fish. It's not a creepy fish. It's going to cost you 3 power to catch it, but then it's going to be worth 3 money, either when you go to port or at the end of a solo game. And this little hook symbol here, this is a benefit you get when you catch the fish. So we're seeing some revealed benefits, some eat benefits, and some catch benefits. That covers most of what we're going to see. Here you can see this one says must be caught with exactly 1 die. So you couldn't use 2 ones to catch the day octopus. That one just has a catch effect. But as you can see, as we get deeper and deeper, here's depth 2. These cards are actually upside down. Depth 2, they get harder and harder to catch, but they become worth more money. We continue to see small and foul, large, medium, fair, or foul. Here, Vampire Squid, it costs 1 less to catch, so it becomes a 3 for each player at depth 2. So if you have multiple players in this depth, this one would cost you less. That's not going to help you at all in the solo game. And then when you get into depth 3, you get into the real crazy stuff here. A lot of them are foul. There's actually a card here that tells you what the ratio is of fair to foul at each depth, and what it's going to take to catch small, medium, or large fish. So you can see that here the great old one is going to cost you 8, but it's going to be worth 9. So anyways, that's a very quick example of what we're catching here. So as you decide what depth you want to fish at, you're just going to choose one of these cards and flip it over. You can see, and it might be hard to see on camera, but in this card here, the shadow in the middle of the card is pretty small. Here it's significantly bigger, and here it actually takes up most of the card, even stretches over the edges. That's going to tell you that this is a small fish, this is a medium fish, and this is a large fish. All right. The difficulty level of catching them, you're not going to know, but just based on the shadows of the fish in the water, you can kind of tell how big it's going to be. To catch a fish, you're simply going to spend the necessary dice. There's no change, all right? And you have to have at least 1 die in order to catch a fish. If you're unable to catch the fish that you flip over, you will simply spend a die of your choosing, and you'll take one of these dink cards. These dink cards are like the little tiny sunnies and trout and whatever. They're just going to give you one-time bonuses. This simply means to discard this. This would reduce a shop cost by $2. A lot of them are going to reduce the fish power that is necessary to catch the fish. So what is different then in the solo game, and why is this game even worth playing solo? So in the solo or cooperative game, you are trying to complete the ocean survey. So the game comes with this tablet of paper. There's plenty on here to play plenty of games, and it's actually double-sided. You can see that the back is very different. But what you're attempting to do over the course of several games, you're not going to accomplish this in a single game, simply because some of the fish are sitting out right here, and you're never going to see them. But what you're attempting to do is not only catch every single fish in the game, but also bring it back to port. So you're going to be literally logging the fish that you catch here, all right, how many of them you would catch, and then whether or not you bring it back into port. Once every single one of these, and a few of them are here for if you have the expansion, once every single one of these boxes is checked off, and that's including jumping to the back, then you have officially completed the ocean survey, and you can consider yourself successful in the campaign. This is almost like a mini campaign. There's no story, but there is equipment that you're going to get to carry over. You're going to be improving your character tenfold over the course of several games. In the multiplayer game, you have to choose whether you go fishing during the day or whether you go to port and you purchase your rods, reels, your upgraded dice, things like that. In the solo game, you only fish. All right, there's no port board. There's no madness board. That's actually on the back side of this. Here you can see here is the port board. We don't even use it in the solo game. All right, because you do all of your purchasing at the end of the game. You're going to have to reduce your catch at the end of the week based on how much regret you have. So you're still wanting to reduce and have the lowest amount of regret possible. All right, but you're going to have to chuck fish before you get back to port. So you'll have caught them, but you won't have been able to bring them back to port to study them. That's what you're attempting to do here, is study every single fish in your little ocean. But once you've established what your final count is, you're going to be able to spend that money on rods, reels, dice, things like that. And you're going to use the amounts listed here. You're not going to use, there's actually no price listed on the cards because the port card, the port board tells you how much cards are. So for $5, you would get to draw 5 cards and keep 2. There's no individual amount. This is going to give you an individual amount, and once you've checked off this box, you have access to those cards or those dice for the rest of the campaign. In a multiplayer game, you purchase upgraded dice, you use them once, and they're gone. Here, you get to keep them and keep using them and keep spending them. So your first game is going to be pretty slow. You're only going to have access to 3 dice, your 3 basic dice, and you're going to collect some fish, probably most of them up here in depth 1. In the second game, however, you can hopefully start purchasing additional dice. You're going to be able to start going deeper and deeper, and your success in each day is going to become greater and greater. So let's just take a look at what this might look like. So we can fill out this sheet if we want here. We can put my name here. Departure date today at the time of this filming is 14 May. And we haven't completed it yet. These ones here, Man-O-War, Sockeye Salmon, Bathyphysa Conifera, Abyssal Colony, these ones are all ones that are taken out of the game because they have effects that interact with the multiplayer game. So they've given you credit for catching these and researching these as well. Also, you get your 3-player dice here and your single can of worms. All right, so that's all we start with. But we start on Monday at the beginning of a day. We're going to, again, take all these dice. We're going to roll them out and put them in our fresh spot. So not a great roll there. All right. We always have to start at depth 1. But if we ever want to drop down a depth, we can discard a die of any amount. All right. But we don't get to use that die for catching fish. So we're going to stay up here in the upper depths right now. At this point, then, we need to decide which one of these shoals. So shoal is the term for each one of these piles of fish. They're all the exact same size right now. So let's just go for the big guy here. We can see that a large is going to be 2 to 4. I've got 4 dice here, so hopefully we can be successful and get us a nice big catch right off the bat. So I'm just going to go ahead. I leave my ship off to the side here. I'm going to flip this over. All right, I have a tri-tentacle. It's a large and a foul fish. All right, so that's fine. And I don't write anything down yet because I haven't caught it. It's going to cost me 4. When I catch it, I'm going to have to accept a regret card for each foul fish in hand. That includes this one. So right off the bat, I don't think I want to skip it. If I skip it, then I'm going to have to spend one of these dice to take a dink card. So I'm just going to go ahead and accept this guy early. And so this is going to come into my hand. So I actually have spent all 4 of my dice, and I'm going to have to draw a regret card. In the multiplayer game, you would keep these face down in secret only based on the number. The number of regret cards you have is common knowledge, but the value of all of them is secret to you. So we'll put that over here off to the side. We'll also put our tri-tentacle here off to the side. That was a very quick first day, but then we're going to move on to Tuesday. Oh, almost forgot the whole point of the game. So we have captured the tri-tentacle here. It is a depth 1 animal, and it's a fowl. So we're going to write fowl here. All right, we're going to write tri-tentacle there. I guess it's an octopus. Its worth is $4, and we have caught one of them. All right. And we have not brought it back to port yet, so we're not going to check this off. Actually, looks like we have not caught a sockeye salmon. We've caught one, but we still going to need to bring one back to port. So, but that's it. We move on to Tuesday. We're going to roll out our dice again, and we have a much better roll. So, I can see I have 2 small fish and a medium fish. Let's go after that medium fish right now. All right, so no eyeball symbol. A catch symbol, I'm going to have to take a regret card. Again, I'd rather take them early, though, and then get rid of them than catch them late. So it's a ghoul ray, nothing else special about it. So I'm simply going to use my number 2 here, spend it, and take it. I, again, have to take another regret card, so I'm up to 2 total. That's not bad. This was another foul fish. This was the Ghoul Ray. And its value is 2, and I have caught one of them. All right. Now, this Ghoul Ray has a if eaten ability, but since you're trying to survey and study all of these fish, you're never going to eat them. So all of the eaten symbols kind of go by their wayside. Now, I find that interesting because you could have already caught a fish and brought it back to port, and then in later games, bring it up again. We could catch this Ghoul Ray again, even after we've brought it back to port. I feel like I should be able to eat the Ghoul Ray now that I've studied it and use that benefit. That's a house rule you could certainly make. For right now, the rule book simply says don't use the eat symbol for any reason. All right, we've still got plenty of fish here. Unfortunately, there's no real way to determine whether it's fair versus foul. It's 3-to-1 ratio, but I've run into a lot of foul here. So let's just start small. We're going to come over here. We're going to flip this guy over. All right, it's a trigger fish. It just has an eat ability, nothing else. And so it's pretty easy. We can use up our number 1, and there we go. All right, so this is a fair fish, finally. And you're going to be writing a lot on your first game, but afterwards you're going to realize that you've already caught a lot of these fish, and you're going to move on. It's worth $1, and I've caught 1. All right. And last but not least, let's go after this medium one again. We should be able to catch it with our 3, no problem. And we actually got lucky here. So this Mahi Mahi doesn't have any other effects. It only costs $1. Unfortunately, you don't get change. So we're going to have to spend that whole 3 just to get this middling Mahi Mahi that was pretty cheap. But it's also a fair. It is a Mahi Mahi. It's going to be worth $2, and we have caught 1. All right. We are going to continue playing through this week, which is essentially a single game, so I can show you what the kind of rewards phase, purchasing equipment phase looks like. But hopefully at this point you generally understand how this is going. If I cannot get rid of these cards, especially this one by the end of the game, I'm going to have to discard, say, this Mahi Mahi out of my hand and then catch it again to officially have surveyed it. But hopefully we'll come across some cards that catching them will allow us to get rid of these. Also, dink cards can help us get rid of these. So sometimes maybe it would be worth it to not catch a fish. Any fish that are left out at the end of the day, face up, are discarded. So you lose the opportunity to catch them. Especially in these early games. So let's move on to Wednesday. We'll kind of pick things up here. Boom, boom, boom. 1, 2, 3. All right, and we're gonna go after the big boy again since we got some good numbers here. All right, it's a Cax, some kind of weird eel. Costs 3. All other players. So there's no other players, so we're good there. We can't eat it. But we're just gonna spend this 3, because basically right now we are trying to catch everything. This first game, we'll pretty much, as long as we can, we'll give it a whirl. So this is worth 3, and we've caught 1. No other things there. Let's kind of stick small here. So we'll flip over this one. It's a blue ringed octopus. Must be caught with exactly 2 dice. So this one's interesting because at this point I have 2 dice, but I would be wasting them. Reroll all of your fresh dice. Must be caught with exactly 2 dice, but revealing it, I have to reroll all of my fresh dice. So that's actually interesting. Let's go ahead and reroll. Well, look at that. Our luck changed. Now it makes sense to go ahead and take this blue ringed octopus. So here we go. It is fair. It is the blue ringed octo. We'll abbreviate here a little bit. It is worth $3, and we have caught 1. All right, but that uses up all my dice. We're moving into Thursday. We're gonna have to find some way to maybe this large fish will give us something that we can use here. So let's go after this large fish we just exposed. It swam up looking to eat that blue-ringed octopus. And there we go, perfect. So this swordfish, it's a big one. It's a large one because it's gonna cost $4, but it's got exactly what I need. All right, here is my 4, and you can see its catch ability is to discard a regret. So I'm gonna take my 2. My 0 doesn't hurt me for anything. And we're just gonna move on. So fair, swordfish, it's worth $5, so good catch there, and worth 1. So we're actually doing really good here. I'm gonna stick small, so we'll dig into this pile again. And we have a flounder for 2, perfect. Exactly what I needed. I'm getting pretty lucky here in this first round. So it's also a fair, it is a flounder. It's worth 2, and nope, I've only caught 1. I don't think the catch ability is really necessary to keep up with, but it would just might be fun to keep track. All right, Friday. So this is the final day. Ideally, I don't want to take any regret, so I may pass on anything that is going to get me regret. I've got some great numbers here, so let's go ahead and jump right into, we were fishing a lot there already, so let's take this middling. Ooh, yeah. All right, there's a whiptail stingray. Reroll 1 of your fresh dice. So I'm going to keep my 3. I'm going to spend my 3 here a second, so I'll reroll this one. And it rolled right back into a 2. All right, so perfect. I get my whiptail stingray here. It is fair. Whiptail stingray. It's going to be worth 4, and I have caught 1. All right, and then last, oh no, I still got 2 more dice. So let's go after this big fella here and see what we can do. All right, we have a Goliath grouper. It's only worth 2 and no other abilities, so we can do that. Bingo bango. We about filled up this whole thing here. Goliath grouper. It's worth 4, and we've caught 1. And last but not least, where do we want to go here? I feel like the medium one is where I need to be. I feel like there's more foul small ones, and we're good. So it's going to be overkill, but that's fine. We have a fair black sea bass, is all one word. It's worth 2, and we have caught 1. We'll have to spend that 3, but that's fine. So that officially completes a single game of Ocean Survey, which is the solo cooperative mode. As you can see, they go by very fast. So you can easily play multiples of these. I doubt that you would be able to complete an entire campaign, complete an entire survey, but they give you this sheet to keep track. And so let's talk about how we purchase equipment here. Obviously, we have 0 total regrets, so we get to keep all of our fish. So let's count up our total here. 6, 10, 12, 17, 23, 25, 26, 28, and 32. I don't think normally in the multiplayer game, when you sell these at port, you're going to gain a regret card, but I don't think I take one and have to carry it over to the next game. So we get to put a check box next to each one of these guys. All right, so that's important. That's what we're going for. But I now get to spend $32. So I think right off the bat, I'm going to take a blue tackle die. So I can reach into my bag here. Normally, you reach into the bag blindly. So a blue die is not that great, but it can be used to help drop in depth. So I took a blue tackle die. Here you can see that you get to, here's basically your supplies. You get to equip all 1 use per game. Here you get to equip all your dice each game. Here you get to equip 1 per day. And so these are the rods and the reels. So I've got anything for 12. I don't see anything for 12 or 2. So I think I'm going to lose out on 2 money because you don't get to carry them over. So lucky pole, wood and brass reel, bag of maggots. And I didn't even use my can of worms. Can of worms can allow you to, you flip it over and you get to peek at the top card. And you would say, I should have used this as my last one. It's ooh, it's a foul. I want to tuck it at the bottom. But let's get a good, I feel like the reels are the best ones to have. So we're going to take a wooden brass reel. I actually just left those cards in the box for now, but we can pull them out pretty easily. So rods and reels, here we go. Now you see some of them are pretty crazy. Wood and brass reel. So we're going to purchase this. Obviously, we're going to equip it because it doesn't hurt us in any way. But here it says, once per day, you may re-roll up to 2 of your fresh dice. Perfect. So if I roll some 1s or some 0s, maybe I can mitigate that. And that's it. Again, you would save this. You may want to dive back into another game. The trick is that all of these fish are going to get mixed back in. I could probably just leave depth 2 and 3 alone, but I would have to shuffle all these depth 1 cards back together, create 3 more shoals, and I'm going to see some repeats again. They may be ones that I pass on in order to get a dink card, or maybe I just go ahead and catch them because I've got nothing better to do. I still get paid for them if I can bring them back to port, or maybe they're the ones I throw away if I have too much regret. But remember, your objective is to see and bring back to port at least 1 copy of every single fish in the game. So this has kind of a campaign style element to it. Now, the multiplayer game of Deep Regrets is a very easy game to pick up and play. It's one, in my opinion, that shouldn't be taken too seriously. There is a lot of luck involved in the game between rolling dice and just flipping over randomly the cards. Obviously, you can mitigate what depth you're at and what size fish you're going after, but you could easily just flip over one and it just is completely like push you up a depth and it screws you over. So there are some really nasty fish in here. The artwork is amazing though, and as long as you go into the game not taking yourself too seriously, I think it's a great game. The Ocean Survey is, in my opinion, a really neat way to play the game. It feels completely different. The main mechanics are still there of fishing, but the fact that once I start getting into further games of my Ocean Survey, I'm really going to start have to strategizing. Where do I want to be? Maybe there's just 1 more fish in the depths of depth 1 that I need. And so I'll just plow through depth 1 with a bunch of dice and I'm just chucking ones away that I don't need and trying to get dink cards, and maybe he'll help me mitigate. There's other reels and rods that allow you to say, look at the top 3 cards, things like that. So obviously all of that, I think it's the narwhal rod here that allows you to, maybe it's the reel of the deep. One of these allows you to draw 3 cards, look at them, and put them back in any order. So that would help you certainly to get to the 1 fish you need in order to complete the survey. So you can see here there's a lot of fish in this game, a lot going on. So you're not going to do it in 2 or 3 games. This is going to take you several games, but I think I played that one in under 10 minutes. So there you go. I wouldn't necessarily go out and purchase Deep Regrets just for the solo mode. But if you have some friends who would be into this kind of silly game with lots of luck involved, great artwork, go pick up this game, bring it out occasionally for game nights, and then in between play yourself through the Ocean Survey mode. If you have any questions about how to play this mode, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Have a great day.